Hi, welcome to Pole Shift News. It's Gene at the Mavstar Observatory. Guys, before we get into it, can somebody just afford themselves a little bit of time to go over to JPL and have a look at what this object is? Because to me, I mean, there's no reference on this to describe what this object is, and to me, at first hand, looks like we've got a comet, should I say, entering our solar system. And if this is us, Earth, here, then it's definitely on its way round into our orbitable path. I'm not saying it's going to hit. If it is a meteorite or a comet, well, it can't be a meteorite, but it could be a meteor or a comet or something, but interesting. Okay, before we get into it, big thanks, huge thanks to a few stars out there. You know, there's no need to mention your name. You know who you are, guys. But you know what, there is just a few people, and you can count them on less than two hands, that are really making a big effort for us to get the finances together in order for us to build all this equipment and keep this observatory going. Guys, at the end of the day, it's your observatory. Yeah, I'm your scientist, this is your observatory. You can tell your neighbour that you own an observatory. It's as simple as that, because it really does belong to the people. This is the people's observatory, and what we need is to raise some cash for it. A bit frustrating sometimes, guys, you know, when we're halfway through a project like we are, and we're steaming along. You're going to see where we are a bit later on in the video with how much equipment we've got in order to build these Muon detectors, and we're at the cutting edge of technology, and we're using the same stuff, as I'll mention in the video later on, that NASA, the European Space Agency, ESA, sorry, that is the European Space Agency, isn't it? But CERN, and we've got that Antarctic research facility, Ice Cube down there in the Antarctica. Yeah, they're all using the same equipment we're using. There's no difference. We've got the most latest SIPM or silicon photon multiplier that they use in their detection of these subatomic particles. We are building a device right now that can detect muons, guys. That's way smaller than an atom. That's the level at what we're at the moment, and there's a lot involved, and you'll see a bit later on in this video just how small some of the components that's got to go on them CPBs that we've had delivered. So, you know, guys, it's all happening, but there's something even more exciting. First of all, let's just take a look at the sun disk. At the moment, it's a little bit unsettled. That's because we've got a little bit of magnetic or geomagnetic activity taking place, as you can see on the KP index. Protons are moderate, X-rays are moderate, and if you go on to Pole Shift News, you can see that the geomagnetic field is unsettled. So we're experiencing a little bit of flux with regards to that. So just briefly, we all know what this is. Sunspots are on the decrease over the last 33 years, covering 3 solar cycles. At the same time, cosmic radiation is on the increase over the last 3 solar cycles. And likewise, we all know what this is. This is the last 3 solar cycles. Doesn't include solar cycle 25. That's because solar cycle 25 hasn't even started yet, and you can see that because we're only at 2019, and you can see at the bottom of the chart 2020. We're still at the bottom of the trough. I don't think, like others and even other scientists, that we're going to have a strong solar cycle 25. I think it's going to continue in the trend that it's gone on, and there is no reason to say otherwise because we've seen no change as of yet. So why people are saying that there's going to be a strong solar cycle 25 with the comparisons that they've made with solar cycle 24 is beyond me. I say I'm going with the trend. I can see it over the last 3 cycles. There's been a trend. It's disappearing off the chart exponentially, and it will continue to do that. And that means, guys, we're going back into what was last described as an ice age. Maunder minimum type, Dalton minimum type. I think we've surpassed already the Dalton minimum type, but we're going definitely into another ice age. Sorry, let's be clear about this. We never left the last ice age. We could be looking at the next chart I'm about to show you, going back into another glacial period, and that will end, if that's the case, that will end everything we know and live by today. Your technology will disappear within 10 years. And this is just putting solar, the pole shift aside. This is just to do with grand solar minimum and the depletion of sunspots. Everything you know about and have lived by in this day and age will dissipate over a short period of time, and that's simply because we're not ready for it. Humans have not prepared for what is coming down the road. We're on the track, we can see the train, we're standing on the track, and we've not moved aside yet. This is going to come closer and closer as time moves on. We can see what's going to happen. It's like watching this happen at the side. There's a guy standing on the track, we can see the train coming, he's got his back turned to the train and he doesn't know it's going to arrive, and when it does, it's going to be curtains for that guy on the track, and that guy represents the majority of humanity on this planet. This is happening before our eyes. We at the Mavstar Observatory have invested a considerable amount of time to build the equipment to monitor the pole shift, to monitor what we can about the influx of cosmic radiation as a result of the grand solar minimum and the pole shift combined, because both of those are allowing more cosmic radiation into our planet, and as a result cancer rates are going to increase, cardiac arrests are going to increase, because cosmic radiation alters cardiac arrhythmia. We're doing all we can, guys, with the little budget that we've got, but we need constant support to keep it going. And as you can see, these things ain't cheap to build. These muon detectors are not cheap to build. The magnetometers are not even on the same scale of these. I can build the magnetometers for around about, I don't know, £100 easy. These things are costing nearly £400 each to build. I don't know where MIT got the idea that you could build these for less than £100, because some companies won't even entertain the issue of just a couple of components. You've got to buy 10, 100, etc. in order to get the price down. You've got to spend thousands and thousands of pounds. You just price it straight out of the market. It's all right if you're NASA and you've got the key to the taxpayer's purse. You can just turn the key, open the vault, and out comes the money. It's all right if you work for NASA. You're on $200,000 a year, no problem. Over here at the Mavstar Observatory, we just about manage to get along. That's about it. At the end of the day, I've reached a point where I can't invest any more of my money, or I'm going to be shot by my future wife. So, I'm doing the best I can. All I need is a bit more support, guys. Okay, I've got some good news, which we're going to get into right now. So, like I said, we're going to soon be going into production of the first one, and then shortly after that we'll build two at the same time, and then so on and so forth till we get the 20 PC boards all fitted up with all these components that you can see. All the resistors are here for all the 20 boards. I went out and just splashed out on all these little resistors, and trust me, doesn't look like there's 100 in there, does there, guys? But in each compartment there is 100 different valued resistors. And just to give you an idea of how small these resistors are that we're going to be soldering, and these are super fine tweezers. That little thing there that looks like the size of a flea is one of the surface mount resistors. If I can just zoom in, and this is the smallest currency we have. It's a 1p piece. And you can, just to give you an idea of how small the resistor is that we're going to solder on there. If I just zoom in there, I don't know whether you'll be able to make out the number on the top of the resistor, but just to give you an idea of what it looks like when it's mounted on the board, just up here, there, you can see I've just placed it on the board on the 2 points. There's got to be a bit of solder touch there and a bit of solder touch there. And you can see at what level surface mount resistors we're actually dealing with, and that's the side of the penny. So you can see, guys, they're tiny things. The capacitors are not much bigger. As you can see there, we've had various amounts of capacitors and various amounts of components. We've got all the 3.5mm audio jacks. We've got the standoffs for the SIPMs, or the silicon photo multipliers, the Arduinos. Just turn that over. the 3 PCB boards. We've got the coupling gel for the SIPM and the singulator. I mean, some of the names on these components you can just imagine, can't you guys? So yeah, we've got some double road legs. That's going to be for mounting the actual SIPM to this board. So we cut them off and then we put the block on. As you can see there, that's the block that connects the SIPM at one end to the actual PCB board this end. And what else have we got? We've got the OLEDs. I've had to purchase also some super fine, as you can see, solder. If we just bring that solder in line with the actual resistor, you can see we want to be working with a real nice fine piece of solder. And we're going to get the I've had to purchase also a new soldering tip. This is the old soldering tip, which was fine, but the new one goes into almost the point the size of these tweezers, and that is so I can, when I start soldering these up, I can just touch it where I need to, get the PCB board hot, a little dab of solder on there, and it should then set and give me the opportunity then from there to solder the other end. But it's a new ball game, guys. I've never worked with surface mount components so small as this in my entire life, so this is going to be a real challenge, and we're now gearing up to do that. As you can see, there's lots of ticks on the component list. This isn't an indication that we've got all the components for 20 PCB boards. I've had to be careful with the money that we've got so we can actually build, you know, the first 3, and then obviously we have got components for the whole 20, but some of the components are quite dear, and you know, we're going to do it in stages. I think we're probably looking, you know, guys, realistically for over £4,000 to build the 20 Muon detectors. But you know, it sounds a lot of money, but when you put it into comparison, I was talking about this in the video the other day. If we had to pay somebody to build the boards, design the boards, and then build the reference sheets and all this stuff, and then buy all the components for us and assemble them, you'd probably be looking over in excess of probably £100,000 easily. I mean, we're dealing with state-of-the-art technology. There isn't another component that does the same job as effectively as the SIPM that we've got, and you know, that just reflects the price. I was talking to a friend in the Gold Coast today, just explaining, you know, what we're dealing with, and he was just like blown away. You know, the level of technology that's gone into all this is just state of the art. There isn't anything newer. And like I said in previous videos, you know, even the observatory in Antarctica, Ice Cube program, is using the exact same detectors as what we do. NASA use the exact same detectors as what we do, and the European Space Agency use the same SIPMs that we're using in this Muon detector. We're detecting those elementary particles that are smaller than atoms, guys, and that requires an extreme amount of high-tech equipment, and like I said, we've got it at our disposal. It's not the cheapest, it's not coming in at the cheapest levels that we would like, and the reason for that is simply because we can't afford to put an order in for 3,000 SIPMs to get them at £24 each. We're having to buy them separately, but we've been lucky to find a manufacturer that is prepared to sell them in small quantities. Otherwise, I mean, I have come across a few companies that manufacture these or actually handle stocks of these, but they refuse to sell anything less than, you know, probably 100 at a time. Again, if that was the case, it'd just be pricing us clear out the market for building these. So, as you can see, lots of capacitors have come in. And as you can see from the components list, there's quite a few components on there that's required to build these, and we cannot afford to make a single mistake. A lot of these capacitors and components are directional. The DC-DC booster that goes onto this section here, as you can see, 4 pins very close together, but look at the closeness of these 6-pin device here, this one here, and you know, You can't afford to make a mistake. But we're lucky that the PC build boards was built in a specific way where they would show you actually where pin 1 was by that little white bit of the silk screen there. You can see that little white dot. That indicates the direction that the chip's got to go in to be soldered onto the board. And again here, another white dot on the silk screen indicating where it's got to go on the board. If you don't know what a silk screen is, you see where it says DC booster? I know it's upside down. Let's just turn it round. That's the silk screen. Anything written in white on the PCB board is actual silk screen. And you know, they've done it, like I say, at MIT in the States, United States, they've done an amazing job of building the board and putting the components of this together. All we've got to do is, like I said, I explained it was like you know, an exam. You've got to get 60 questions absolutely spot on out of 60 in order to build these boards and get them working. If we put one of these capacitors on this board upside down, the whole thing won't work. If there's an error in the program that gets uploaded to the Arduino, just one full stop in the wrong place, it won't upload, it won't compile it up to there. Someone was telling me the other day about the program. You can't lift the program off these. Once it's been installed, you can erase it, but you can't lift it off there. If someone tried to plug in a jack on this, once all this component's been built and it's working correctly, if they tried to pull it back off the EEPROM, they wouldn't be able to do it. And the simple reason for that is when you compile the program up to the actual Arduino, it transfers it into machine code. And the only people that could possibly pull the program back off there in a readable format would probably be the CIA, because it would require a machine that costs millions and millions of pounds to do it. So there's no way, you know, if I put the program on here and I overwrite the program to suit my things on here, it's like I'm going to hack a little bit of the program, to be honest, guys, because when I switch this on, I want it to say Mavstar Observatory instead of something else. So, you know, I'm also going to be changing later on down the day a bit of the program, because what I want to do is incorporate, I believe I can do it because I know what pins have been used on the Arduino by the silk screen. See all these little white dots here, and here? It tells me what's been used, and I know that there's available, what they're called, analog or digital pins that I can use, which means I might be able to, and I'm going to try to incorporate the magnetometer on board this, so it will be a muon detector and a magnetometer. And the good thing about this is we're using SIPMs as opposed to other detectors, and SIPMs are not threatened in any way by electromagnetic equipment. So the good thing about that is we don't have to shield this in order for it to keep working. And as there is a few extra pins on there, as long as the memory hasn't been consumed in writing the program, we will be able to add more to the program, and maybe enough to get it also working a magnetometer. So this could be the Mark II magnetometer for now, and then perhaps at a later date we'll go for a more high-powered Arduino, perhaps a Tinsy, and there's 128k worth of program there as opposed to just 16k on these. So, you know, that's where we are, guys, and we're going into the build very, very shortly. Like I say, there's just a few more components. My supplier has yet to send me some more components. That's because he's handling the capacitors for us, but he's also using several different suppliers for the capacitors. Again, you know, some of these capacitors you have to buy in certain amounts, and you know, it's just not viable to buy them in low quantities when you're looking at building 20 of these. But it's a bit of a balancing act, you know, guys, with the amount of money that we're getting at the moment. Like I say, as we're getting it, it's going back out on various components. But look where we are. You know, we're probably a month in on this, and we're almost ready to start assembling the first PCB board. And obviously we're going to have probably a couple of little problems. You know, I anticipate that, but I don't think it's going to be anything serious that we can't resolve in a short space of time. My deadline for having one of these working is over the next 2 weeks, and then, as you know, I'm away for about 9 days, and when I come back we'll build the next 2, but whilst I'm away, I'll have this plugged in and it'll be recording 24 hours a day over that period of time, so we'll have some data to compare when we get back. Okay, that's where we are on the muon detectors, guys. Okay, so what's the good news I've got? Okay, so Monday, one of our magnetometers is going to leave the UK and go out to a destination. I want to keep it a bit secret, but I will tell you that it will arrive in Bali at the beginning of October, and then 3 months after that we should get the first data come back. Now, if you're clued up on your geography, you know where Bali is. It is across the Tropic of Capricorn, going towards the equator, north of Perth, and the reason why we're putting it there is because we want to see what is going on with the Perth anomaly that we've detected. I can tell you guys that one of our magnetometers arrived today in the Gold Coast, so we'll be bringing that back online with regards to the data collection. I had a word with Richard down there on the Gold Coast. He showed me where he's set it up. I think it's perfectly okay where he's put it. It looks like a good position, and he's screwed it down and everything should be okay. So data will be arriving shortly from there. I've asked Richard just over the next week to collect some data, send it back as a sort of a test, and then reset the or format the SD card, put it back in the magnetometer, reset it, and then put it back to business as usual. The other bit of good news we've got, not only, okay, so going back over to Perth, the reason why we've put this magnetometer in Bali is because we want to know how much, if the anomaly that we've detected in Perth has spread up towards the equator. And Bali's quite close to the equator. It's not on the equator, but it's getting there, moving in that direction. And the reason we want to know is if we are getting flat lines in Perth like we've had, and I'm sure Jeff has also received his new magnetometer and we'll be getting some data on that as well, because Jeff, if you remember, took the magnetometer that he got that was flatlining as far north as he could to a place where he works. It was a 2-hour flight north from Perth to north of the continent there, and we were still getting the same effects. So if we move, if we put another magnetometer in Bali, that's further north again, and we should see if we were out of that zone where we're flatlining. We're not going to know that for another month or so, but we're trying to whittle it down to finding out what is causing the problem. Now, if there's a fault with the magnetometer, the suspense ends there, and we'll know. Jeff's going to put the new magnetometer side by side over the next week or so, and we're going to get some data back off both magnetometers. If they're both flatlining, and I scrupulously tested that magnetometer before it went out to Perth, before I sent it, so I know there's nothing wrong with it, and it fluctuates over in the United Kingdom like it does over in Southern California, Kentucky, and in Hong Kong. So it's a bit of a mystery as to why we're getting that flat line in Perth. Even in the Gold Coast, we're not getting this flat line, or at least at the moment. So it's going to be interesting to see where all this goes, guys. It's very exciting times at the moment. There's a lot happening, with all this. But the good news doesn't stop there, and we are super fortunate for this, guys. We've got a pilot that is prepared to throw one of our muon detectors on the dashboard of an aircraft. They're a commercial pilot, and they're going to be taking it round various locations of the world. They told me it was a pity it wasn't at the moment that I hadn't got the muon detectors already built last month, because they've pretty much covered every longitudinal line or crossed every longitudinal line on the planet, and almost done a 360 degrees journey all the way around it. So it is a shame that we never had it then, but this pilot is prepared to put it on the dashboard of the plane and take it all around the journeys where they go. And I do know that they do cross the South Atlantic anomaly, which is the weakest magnetic region on this planet, regularly. So you can imagine we're going to get a lot of high altitude data with regards to cosmic radiation, at least around about 37 to 40,000 feet for long durations of time. And you know, could you imagine what we would have to pay just to put, you know, get a chartered flight and get that sent out and collect that data? We are absolutely so lucky to have this person volunteer to do this for us, guys. You just wouldn't believe it. And they know who they are because they follow us on this channel, they support us, and you know, they couldn't, in my view, they could not do any more for us. So, you know, massive thank you to that person. You know you are, and you know, you're widely appreciated with the subscribers on this channel. And you know, I'm just delighted that we've got this person who's helping us, you know, resolve some of the questions that we're asking. You know, what level of radiation is at 40,000 feet? What level of radiation is on the ground at different locations around the world? That's what we're doing here at the Mavstar Observatory. You know, we are teeny weeny guys, but we pack a massive punch. You know, we can compete with NASA, that's no problem. And the only reason we can do that is because you're lucky you've got a scientist with the skills that I have to exercise, to build these things and actually collect the data and bring it back to you guys. You know, this is a golden nugget, this channel, and the website where we put all the data up on, not just the TriMag, the magnetosphere sensor, and now collecting global data on magnetic excursions or events or anomalies, but also on the gathering of data on global cosmic radiation. Can you believe that? Can you believe, guys, where we've got to right now? You can see why some of these people that support this channel do it to the levels that they do, because they realise, you know, they're part of something really big here. You know, it's a massive contribution to you guys out there to get this data, you know, firsthand and without any scrupulation at all. You know, there's no filtering of the data, there's no censorship. You get it all as it comes in. So, you know, it is what it is. That's what I always say. It's one of my favourite sayings at the moment. You know, it is what it is, and we're lucky to be in a position to be doing what we're doing. And it ain't going to be long, guys, before we start getting these muon detectors go around the world and getting that data. And you know, then we can turn around to the medical experts and say, look, how serious is this? Where do we stand? If this goes higher, where do we stand, you know, at the moment? Those are the important questions the mainstream organisations aren't answering for you guys, and those are the questions that we're trying to answer here at the Mavstar Observatory. So guys, I'm going to leave it here. You know, we're almost at the weekend, aren't we? You know, all I can say is have an amazing weekend, guys. We really need support. There's still a lot of stuff to buy, and you can imagine, you know, sending these things out in the mail isn't cheap. You know, it all mounts up. It's just like swamping us. Every time we run a little bit, we have to stop because we run out of money. And you know, I can't keep you know, not only using my time, and you can imagine how much time I've actually invested in this over the last month. If you looked at a photo of my face, you'd see that there's a bit of stress there, trust me. What I need right now is a few more people to support us, and if we can get some golden people on board that support us, like a few that are already, that'll be more than sufficient. But it has to, you know, what we need is regular support here. That's the main thing, guys. Anyhow, I'm not going to go on. You know, have an amazing weekend. Just know this, guys, we're doing all we physically and possibly can here to answer these questions for you, and soon we're going to have some absolutely amazing information, data, and you know, hopefully some answers answered. Guys, links are down there. You can support us on Patreon and PayPal. None of it's mandatory, of course, but obviously if no one supports, we end up like a boat on the ocean with no wind in its sails. It's as simple as that. I'll say what I usually do. As always, bye for now.